Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time out of your day to learn more about digital marketing. My name's Inga. I'm a content developer at Zealed, and I'll be moderating the webinar today. At Zealed, we understand how difficult it can be to run a business and then also get that business set up online successfully. We also know that going digital creates a whole new playing field for businesses where you're competing against local and international competitors. So today we're sharing a few ideas to use digital marketing to stand out from your competitors online. Today's speaker is Lisa Meyer. She's our client services manager, and she comes from an extensive, amazing professional background. And in a moment, she'll be telling you 5 simple ways to increase your chances of standing out from your competitors online. And we're so happy to have you here today, Lisa. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Before we begin, a quick run through of how everything will run today. If you would like to ask us a question, you can type your messages in the question mode or chat mode in the gray panel to the right. You can message us privately or publicly, me or the speaker. It's totally up to you. And if you would like to speak or ask your questions directly, you can also click the request to speak button at the bottom of the screen. We will be recording this webinar session, so if you miss anything valuable or insightful while taking notes, you can always catch up with it at a later time, and we'll be sending out the webinar replay via email when the session has ended. I just want to make sure that the chat mode is working, so please let us know what industry you're in and one thing that you'd like to improve with your digital marketing strategy in the chat mode. We also have a special offer for attendees of the webinar. These are free online strategy sessions that you can use to discuss your website, your SEO, digital marketing strategy, how you use Google or Facebook ads. And if you don't know what you need to work on or improve, our digital business strategists can help you figure that out. Without further ado, here's Lisa to tell you all about the different ways that you can stand out from your competitors online.
Awesome, thanks for that. So yes, today covering off 5 simple ways of staying ahead of your competitors online. I know it says 5 there, but I'm pretty sure some of my points have a few within it. So very excited to come and speak to this topic. I think it's often quite an easier area in digital marketing because you can utilize research others have done to then get yourself ahead as well. So today's coverage, we're going to be talking about Google My Business, competitor analysis, customer service, conversion, and adaptability. If you're not quite sure what one of those things are, we will delve into each of them individually and really get the idea of what it's about. So to start off with, Google My Business. If you don't have it, get it. And if you're not quite sure how to, you can just Google My Business and sign up and proceed with the steps to help you set it up. So why should you have it? So Google My Business is free. It's a free tool from Google. It's easy to use, and it provides very good visibility to your potential customers. So if you are not quite sure what that is, it's when you do a search for, maybe if you're in the plumbing industry and you're looking at plumbers North Shore, for example, it's this little box that will actually show up on the right-hand side of the search results. So that's generally highlighting maybe the closest business to them, or it's highlighting one of the businesses that actually has a Google My Business listing. So these are good to grab attention because they obviously look different to what search results do on the page. One other thing that's really good about it is if people are trying to find you, let's say you're a shop, you're the local hairdresser down the road, and you've got a new client coming in. If they search your name on Google, it's likely to bring up your Google My Business listing, and it then contains very, very important information that someone would need to be able to see really easily. So that is your address, your hours, and your phone number. And generally, when people are looking for your listings, these are the types of information they want to know. And in particular, over the last 2 years, what has been really helpful with Google My Business listings and what Google have been doing is been making them very, I guess, pandemic friendly. So letting you have multiple updates, being able to flag if there's some restrictions at the moment for your business, and little things like that to really just make it easy for your customers to find you and know how to interact with you. So if you do go to make a Google My Business listing, some key things I believe you need to make your listing stand out is your location, your website, your primary contact details, and your store hours. I think it's important that even if you are an offline business, an online business only, so that means you don't have a store or you don't have somewhere where people can come and see you, that you still put office hours. The reason for that is so that people know if they're contacting you between that time, they should expect a response. So I think that's very important because you don't want people to contact you in so-called hours that they believe you should be open and then not get a response and maybe actually go and find another business that maybe is open at that time. So regardless of whether you're an online only business or you're online and offline, so have a store that someone can come into, it's very important that you add store hours or office hours. Another good area that you should make sure you have up to date in your Google My Business listing is your social media profile. Any photos or post updates that you may have, such as special offers and events, something that can be quite handy if you are a store or a location people can come to, have a photo of what it looks like from the road. I know I often when I'm driving, I'm trying to find or search for a number, and on some roads that's quite impossible to find. So if you do have that sort of image that you can take, that photo, it's always handy to have it there because someone might check that out beforehand and then be a little bit more aware when they're driving to your store or location. What else you need to do is choose categories that match your business as well. So Google, I think the one thing to understand here is Google does have specific industries that you need to pick from. So for Zeld, we're a digital marketing and website development company. However, the category they have for us is internet marketing service. Now, this is just a preset Google one. You can't choose or decide what it is outside of that. You do have to pick from a list. I would suggest that you don't try and choose too many and just try to choose up to maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most categories that maybe your business fits into here. Then the other thing that you should be utilizing, and I'll cover this off in a minute, is getting customers to review your services or products on your Google listing. It is super helpful as a lot of people will utilize this to see if others are purchasing from you or using your services and how they've found that experience. So I think this is a great tool to be using to get those reviews, and it's a very well-known review system for a lot of your customers as well. So covering off a bit more about the benefits, it will increase your visibility in Google search and maps. So like I said, when someone's either searching your name or maybe searching businesses that your business does match, such as the location, etc., then it's more likely your listing will pop up on the right-hand side and it's a better visibility within all the Google search results. It can then also help, touching on the review piece again, build your credibility as well. So the more reviews you're getting, the way you're responding helps to really build that trust and credibility. Another thing it can do, which is very good, is it can direct customers to your shop or your location. So there's a couple of ways it can do this. One is to obviously direct them to your location that you physically are, so maybe their local store. Or it also has a button where you click website. So you can then direct them straight through to your website store as well. I, for one, am someone who uses that quite a lot. So I do believe it's a very good feature if you do have a listing. A lot of the time, if something pops up and it's local to me and I want to find out more, I will want to see their website. So having that connection there is great. The next thing it can do is engage your customers through your photos and videos on there as well. So there is that opportunity to be adding more photos and videos. This can be particularly handy for industries. If you're in sort of food and in cafes, you could be posting photos of your food. And how attractive would that look, that someone's searching for a cafe nearby, your listing pops up and there's photos of your food that just looks delicious and encourages them to come and book with you. So you can look at ways that you can utilize that to your ability, to the best for your business, so that you can be, getting these gains out of Google My Business listings, especially because it's free. Okay. And then also it will give you some Google My Business insights. So this is more within back-end area. And I think the biggest benefit of all, like I said, it's free and it is very easy to use. So I do have a small expert tip here. If you are using Google My Business, then update that with images as often as possible. I can just see that it was asked how many photos are ideal. So you will see here that there's only a limited space of what shows on the main listing. So that is that 3. But when you click into that, you can see as many as possible. Depending on your service or your industry, I do think it's important to make sure your photos are showing your service and showing what you do. So, maybe up to 10, but if that's going to cover everything you're doing, I think what you've got to do is people like snackable content is the best way to put it. So think bite size. You don't want to have hundreds of photos for someone to scroll through. You want to have very specific photos that cover off your services or the products you sell. And if you've got too many, you're sort of then taking away from the point of them to come in and see you or them to purchase a service with you to find out more. So I think photos probably up to 10, but if you've got a few more products or a few more services to offer, then a few more is okay. But again, making sure that they're more very, very specific to what you're offering. So hopefully that helps answer that. And then the next up as well, ask for Google reviews. So if you do have a Google My Business listing, be asking your customers who have enjoyed a meal at your place or love getting their hair done by you, ask them for a Google review. The worst they can say is no. And then it gives you the opportunity to have other people see what the experience is like there. And humans are very, love the human connection. So they love seeing what other people have experienced at your store or with your services. And so they will take on board what others have said. And also not to worry there, if it's a negative review, I am covering off a bit more about reviews and customer feedback a bit later on. So there will be some tips in there for you. So moving along to the next step is competitor analysis. So this is where you're collecting and analysing information about businesses that you're directly or indirectly competing with. And the goal of this is to get some data-driven findings of what your competitors are doing, the impact on your business success they present, and identifying any points of weakness that your business can capitalise on. So this is very important, and I think sometimes when we talk about competitors, a lot of people do go for that direct competitor. There's also a lot you can get off indirect competitors as well. And there's a few different ways to look at what those are. So we'll be talking about that. So number 1 is identify your top competitors. So you can do a Google search to see who's selling similar services or products, and you can do that based on your location as well as the wider New Zealand, depending on what your offering is. Another way you can be identifying your top competitors is ask your customers, ask people that you are talking with, who else have you considered? Where else have you looked? Is there anything that made you choose us? So, don't be afraid to start up those conversations with people. Just don't do it in a way where you're sort of throwing tons of questions at them. Just try and build it into a normal conversation you would have. And then another way to identify, similar to the Google search, using social media platforms to identify businesses as well. If you are a physical store, another way that you could do this is actually just walk around maybe the area you're in and see if there are any competitors in the area that people might be going to as well. So step 2 of your competitor analysis is then setting your criteria for what you're actually analyzing. So is it that you want to be more competitive on price, or you want to see how your prices compare? Then price is your criteria. If it's more around your product quality and working out how you can be better at product quality, or if your product quality is better than your competitors, then that's your criteria. So the ones we have here is price, product quality, digital marketing channels, customer service, and sales. So those are just some ideas. There's a lot more that you could be looking at here, but it's just trying to work out really what it is you're trying to gain from this. What are you trying to show that you do better than a competitor? Or what are you trying to work out where you need to be online so that you can compete in that space against a competitor as well? And then step 3, I think it's important that you determine your competitors' digital marketing efforts. So the reason for this is so that you can be reaching out to the same customers or prospects that they are. There's no one that you can't get. If you can see your competitors doing it, you're most likely needing to be in that space. But this is where you do take that step back and analyze the details here. So first, look at the platforms they're using. If you're looking at Facebook, you can see, are my competitors on Facebook? If they're not, is it an opportunity I'm missing out on and I could get ahead in that space? Or if they are using Facebook, see what sort of engagement and levels that they're getting from potential customers and current customers as well, to then work out if it's the right space for you. You can then also look at what type of content do they create, and is that something you can do or that you can do better? Or maybe there's areas within the content that they're completely missing. So what you might find when you're doing your competitive analysis is that you will find some competitors are just constantly pushing sales. I think I'll bring up Briscoes. I think we all know, like, I don't shop at Briscoes unless I know there's a sale. And that's because I am so used to them going sale, 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 that if something's not on sale, then I'll just wait, because there'll probably be one on the weekend or on a Thursday. So some of your competitors will be known that they're always pushing offers, they're always pushing people to buy. That can leave a huge gap in the market, because people might actually want more tips and ways they can maybe have this product last longer, or ways that the service can be useful for them in the long run. So look at that type of content and see if there's a gap in there of something that you could create that makes you a bit different from your competitors. And then the last one, which it's important, but I think, if you can't really work this out, it's okay as well. But what does their social media strategy look like? So is it a mix of paid ads with normal organic posts? Is it mostly images or videos or text? Is it links to things on their website? Or just like I said, another thing you could look at is it always sales and offers? So sort of look at what that strategy is and see if it's really working. And most of the time you can do that, again, just by looking at the posts or what they are putting up on their social media. Then step 4 is to start looking at what's called a SWOT analysis. So this is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So the strengths here is when you select the competitor, what are they doing right that's helping them see results? So where can you see they're getting the engagement? Where can you see that they're potentially getting sales? Write that down, because that's obviously a strength and it's good to understand where that is. Then write down weaknesses. So what are things that aren't delivering any return on investment, or most of their customers complain about? So again, just that little bit of digging, see what they're not quite doing well, or maybe ones where they're not getting much engagement at all. So it's very important just to sort of highlight that. You don't need a big list here either. It could just be 1 or 2 things. So don't sit down and be spending weeks on this. This should be something you could do over the course of a couple of days. The next one, opportunities. So I've touched on this on the last slide. Are there any gaps or opportunities that you can capitalize on to get ahead? So like I mentioned, maybe they're always just offering sales and offers, etc., but they're not taking the time to explain how the product is useful, or what FAQs you need to know, so frequently asked questions and answers, what sort of extra content or support or advice you can give, because that could make you be seen more as the trusted go-to person, and that's more likely to get someone to engage with you and maybe use your service or product as well. And then the last one is threats. So quite a serious word, but not in that same serious context, but it is, what kind of threat does your competitor's current strategy pose for your business? So going back to always offering sales and offers, that can also be a threat, because, we are bargain hunters at the same time. I know there's been quite a few times where I've certainly gone for the cheaper option, but it's not actually always worked out in my favor. So, that's another threat you could list, is that they are always offering sales, always offering discounts, etc. But then it's what you do with that is you work out how you can sort of turn that to actually be in your favor. And I think talking about the opportunity to become more trusted and more the advisor does actually help build more trust with you, and then people will be actually happier to pay a higher price for that. So step 5 is, now that you've done that SWOT analysis, you need to list down the results and actions you can take from that and then implement them. So from here, what you can do is you've highlighted sort of what your competitors are doing, and you use that framework to help create your strategy. Or if you already have one, then use it to just justify what you're doing, or maybe make changes to it as well. So I think it's very important in this space is to take advantage of any weaknesses that competitors might have that you can actually use to your advantage. So, they might be selling really cheap products because they're going to break quite easily. While that's not going to be exactly what you say, you're going to point out that maybe your products are, handcrafted, they come with a 10-year warranty, and that is building that trust and showing people these aren't cheap products. So when it comes time to decide between maybe a $10, $20 difference in price, they will take that into account and go, well, actually, I want this to last for over 10 years. So yes, that's actually better for me. Probably the best example I have there is the cat scratching post I chose. They gave a 20-year warranty on it, and they will replace the carpets and everything on the scratching post. And I chose that over a cheap one that I can just buy at your local Kmart. Because they're not quality. They fall apart quite easily, and I know that. Whereas spending a bit more on getting this quality cat scratching post with a warranty on it as well, if it breaks, it's been worth the investment because I'm not buying a new cat scratching post every few months. And then, carrying on from that as well, though, so maximize opportunities. So opportunities for you to do better than your competitors or highlight where you're different, maximize on those. And then, of course, address the threats. So like I mentioned, if they're sort of selling things always on special or on offers, look at ways that you can use that to your advantage by maybe highlighting the areas on your business that are good. But so whether it is that quality, whether it is more that you can give advice and ongoing help, what that is that sort of makes you a bit different. So my expert tip here is around starting simple. So if you don't have time to do that full sort of blow-in analysis of your competitors, some things you can do very quickly is just compare what social platforms they're using. So then that will help you know what platforms you're most likely should be using, and you can tell that from the engagement they're getting. You can use Google search to see where they're ranking or what they're offering. And then another way you can just start getting out there is seeing if there are some quick offers you can be making on your website. So very short, small things. It doesn't always have to be money off. It might be that you come and deliver it to them for free. So just looking at different ways you can be doing offers, but remembering it doesn't always have to be a money off option. One thing I do know is that a few businesses I have worked with, they do sort of ask for, if you do a review, things like that, they will give me $10 off my next service. That's always helpful and just ways that you can utilize those, but it's not a must to do money off. Now, the next area, like I said, it's number 3, but it also has 3 keys to effective customer service. And this is where I'm delving a bit more into some of the areas we've discussed. So I think it's important for some facts. 93% of customers are more likely to make repeat purchases with companies who offer excellent customer service. So that's come from the HubSpot research report. And then 77% of customers would recommend a brand to a friend after having a single positive brand experience. So that's how powerful these interactions are and how much it can help you get repeat business or referral business. So as much as digital marketing is up and coming and awesome, and it really does help people get out there, what it does not beat is word of mouth. Word of mouth is still very strong because it links back to our natural human need for interaction and wanting what other people have, or hearing and listening and understanding the experience they had. So we still have that connection, and it's very strong. And most marketing won't outdo that because it is around, hey, they've had a positive experience. If I go here, I'll have one too. So ways you can then be using customer service or different tools to help with customer engagement and how they feel about your business. So one is email marketing. So email marketing can come across quite personal because you can be utilizing it to send updates, send offers, and send other business news as well. So this will utilize an email database. And if your website doesn't have it already, make sure that you get an email sign up on your website so that you can be building this database. And then, make sure you utilize it. I believe email marketing is one of the most underutilized areas within digital marketing. I think, for me, sometimes I go, yes, I feel a bit spammed, but at the same time, for the companies I do want to find out more about and I do want to build a relationship with, I am interested in their emails. And while I might not read every single one, I do read the odd one, which then what it does is at the end of the day, brings that brand to top of mind. So when I'm ready to make a purchase, when I'm ready to go for a service, that brand comes top of mind because I'm repeatedly seeing them through email marketing. And like I said, it's a bit more personal. So another way you can engage with your customers as well is through social media. So it is an excellent tool not only for brand and can't pronounce that word today, but it's also great for learning about your customers. So what you can use social media to do is create conversations, and you'll see it a lot. So it will be around having people be able to, you're sort of sharing a photo and then asking others, share your photo of your product, or, show us how you're using this, or show us your latest service, or, asking them to engage in a way where you might put up some options. And I think polls are a great thing that are used across social media these days. So for example, person I go to for nails, she'll post, 2 pictures of pink nails, blue nails, and she'll go, which ones do you like best? And so it's kind of using polls, it's using engagement with your customers to ask them questions and get answers. The questions might not always be really useful for your business. There might be fun questions in there because you don't want to always be coming across like you're trying to grab information all the time. But in the long run, it's getting people used to doing that engagement with you. And then number 3, another great way and very important way to look at customer engagement, especially if you're trying to do a lot of roles within your business, is a chatbot. So you can be using chatbots in conjunction with your social media as well as your website, and it can help you with being able to answer questions around the clock without actually being there. So most chatbots, like the Facebook one, direct Facebook one, does offer you to just ask a couple of questions and give very straightforward answers, but not so much on the engagement. If you are wanting for a bit more engagement, a bit more customer service, then you can look at something like messenger marketing, which does sort of take it the next step further from that very automatic question and answer process, and makes it more engaging for a customer and a business like EasyBots does provide this type of service there for messenger marketing. So those are 3 ways you can help your customer engagement, which reflects on your customer service. Another way you can look at it is through your customer feedback and reviews. So this is why I said Google My Business, be asking for reviews, because what that does, that feedback, that reviews, not only helps other people buy off you, but helps you review your feedback, review what people are actually saying about your company. So it is the most accurate resource you can use to grow your business. So if customers aren't happy, they're telling you why they're not happy, you can then do something about that. Instead of just trying to maybe pick something in the air, oh, it must have been because it was a rainy day, something like that. This is true feedback that's coming from people who have purchased from you or used your service. So positive reviews will obviously let you know what you're doing right, so you can then leverage that and improve on that so you get more business. Negative reviews or feedback, on the other hand, will then point you to the areas that you could be improving on, or maybe areas that are not quite needed, or maybe not your best expertise or area that you should be offering as well. So they help give you feedback that's vital to be adapting your business. I think the other thing with this, though, make sure you're responding to any reviews, whether it's positive or negative. Just respond. Positive can be as simple as going, thanks for the review. Negative can be as simple as going, appreciate you sharing your experience or sharing your product, your feedback on the product. Please email or give us a call. So that immediate take it offline, get them to get in contact if they haven't already, so that you can be then resolving the issue and maybe turning them into a positive client. So from this customer satisfaction, so the goal of your customer service is to provide assistance to customers before, during, and after they make a purchase. So in order to set yourself apart from competition, your customer service efforts must be done in a way that's very empathetic, respectful, and responsive. So this will make the experience more memorable to customers, which can easily turn any casual buyer into a loyal brand ambassador. And I think that's very true. I think if you go back and in your head go, when did I have a 10 out of 10 experience? And how do I show that now? You will find that you will have only a few of those, and those will be brands that you're actually really happy to offer to others. Going back to sort of my nails story, I've been referring the person I go to for nails to everyone just because of the improvements I've seen, of how lovely the service is, of how sort of one-to-one the customer interaction is. So I'm happy to be telling others about the positive experience and sharing it with them so they can also use that, go and do that as well if that's something in their interest. So my expert tip for this one is ask for reviews and respond to reviews you get. So I know I mentioned it, but please make sure you're doing this. I think, like I mentioned, if it's a positive review, it can be quite simple. It can just be a thumbs up as well. If it's a negative review, I think it's very important that there's some sort of response and you take it offline. It's important to remember that you can have negative reviews, but they can actually get you business. So if you have a negative review, but you're able to go, hey, I want to help you out, I want to fix this, and that is shown through your response, then people will go, oh, okay, they've got 1 or 2 bad reviews, but they actually want to help. They actually want to put the customer first. They want to provide that service or help. And so that can be a way it looks very positive with you, because pretty much at the end of the day, I'm not quite sure there's many companies that just have continual 5-star reviews. There's always someone that has a slight difference of opinion or thinks something could have been done slightly differently. And that's okay, because we are humans, but it's those responses that's what's important here. So number 4 on simple ways to get ahead of the competitors is your website. So it's very important to look at your conversion pathway, look at your website. So when you go to your website, try to do it with fresh eyes. One thing I like to do, sounds a bit funny, but close your eyes and then load the website. So have your finger on the refresh and then open them and see where your attention grabs to immediately. And that tells you what people are seeing first when they come to the website, especially if it's something you look at every day. And that's just a good way to reset it. So things you need to be looking for with your website to help get you ahead is, how easy is your website navigation? So can I just go to the menu and I can easily see where I have to purchase products or look at your services? Can I easily find the about us? Can I easily get in contact? Those sorts of areas. Also look at, where is your menu? Is your menu on the top of the website, just like most websites are? So again, that's best practice. Or is your menu on the side perhaps? Is that it's not quite best practice. It's not what people are used to seeing on websites. So maybe consider where your menus are. Next thing, is it clear what they need to do when they land on the main page? So when they land, is it clear that they need to either click a button to move on to the next step, to maybe view products or look at your services? Is it clear that they need to maybe scroll down more? Or is it sort of not really sure what to do? So that's where these call to actions on this image here is quite important, the Robbins Cottage one. These call to actions help direct people immediately to where they need to go. So you've got to think about your website as guiding someone continually. Number 3, when you get to the checkout or inquire area, so this is on the homepage, not in the actual on the page, is it clear to see how to get there? So for an e-commerce site, best practice, shopping cart, top right-hand corner of the website. Is it there? Is it easy to click on so that they can go to the checkout and proceed with their sale? Contact us. Is there a phone number in that header? Is there, an area where they have a contact us, get in touch? Is that in the menu, that navigation area? Because again, that's what people can be looking for when they come to your website. Number 4, does it have intuitive search functionality on the main header of the site as well? So people are so used to search, we Google search all the time. So when we are using our website, it's very common to see a search functionality. In particular, if you're e-commerce, if you're selling products, and if people are coming to search for your products, they will like to use the search functionality. So make sure this is very clear, make sure it's in the header, make sure it is something they can access on every page. Because the worst thing is that someone is going through pages on your website and gets to a spot where they can't get back out, or they're not sure how to get to something else. So this is why giving these tools to allow them to navigate the search, the menu, all throughout the website is very, very helpful. And then this is sort of a bit of a repeat of number 3, but just shows the importance of it, is common information easy to find. So phone number, like I mentioned, is it in the header, that top right, your phone number with maybe a little phone icon on mobile? Your address and store hours. So if you have an about us or contact us page, this information should be there because people are more likely to click there to find it. But also in the footer of your website, best practice is generally your address and store hours are in there as well. So why I'm saying best practice is these are what you will see on all well, not all, but most websites. Websites that follow what people are used to seeing, websites that are following what we know where people look. So while you might want to stand out and have something a bit different, have something, that makes you a bit different from your competitor's website. Like I get you don't want to copy and paste, but I think in saying that, you need to remember that there are very key elements that are in specific spots on a website that people are used to clicking on or going to find the information they want. And so when you are trying to make your website be a bit different from competitors or stand out in a different way, it's very important to remember those, I guess, basics, those best practices. Now, I think just the caveat here, you do have very, very big brands that don't need to do this. So please, if you are looking and going, oh, but Nike doesn't do that, oh, Apple doesn't do that on their website, that's okay. Don't compare yourself to them. Don't compare your website to them. And the reason for that is because they're built on brand. People will take the time to go and buy an Apple product, regardless of how difficult it was to navigate the website. So be aware that there are some websites out there that are very niche because their brand can just sell the product for them. But that's not, 99% of businesses, okay? So the other thing to consider when going through looking at your website is the conversion funnel. And I think this is important because what you're trying to do here is fix leaks or identify leaks at least. So the conversion funnel should be making clients do what you want them to do. So they come to your homepage, they then click products, they look through the products, they select that, they add it to cart, they pay. You know, that's a conversion pathway, a very simplistic one, but that's what you're thinking of here. So review your conversion funnel and how it's being translated across your digital channels. Is it easy? Is it simple to follow? The worst thing is going to a website and having to search every page to find the information you want. Most of the time, that's where you lose a client and they'll go elsewhere. So again, also thinking about snackable content. Don't be bombarding them with lots and lots and lots of text. So here's how you can do it. Where your potential customers are dropping off in the conversion process. So generally you can get this through tracking and goals within Google Analytics or Google Ads or your Facebook ads reports, if those are things you're running. You can then use this to fix leaks in your conversion funnels as well. So you can go, great, these are the areas they're dropping off, so let's fix them. If you don't have this, then ask some friends and family to go, okay, I want you to locate a product and I want you to pay for it, or how, pretend to pay for it. Then get them to do it and give you feedback on any areas where maybe they get stuck. And then once you fix the leaks, what you can do is you can start boosting conversions through this funnel optimization, because when you fix the leaks, you can then just look in the key areas you need specific content or information to really drive someone through to the next stage. So for example, landing on a product page, one thing that's really good is when they're on that product, being able to see all the different payment options that are available. Maybe they're a bit short on cash up front and they can't afford the whole price, but they might see you have Afterpay, you have Lay-by, you have Klarna, there's all of them now, and then go, great, I can pay this over 8 weeks. I'm happy to make that purchase and push them through. So just little things like that are where you can really optimize that funnel for your website. So expert tip here, whole thing what I've talked about, a clear pathway to purchase or inquire on your website is always key. So just go, after this webinar, go to your website and go, how many clicks? Should probably be 5 or less, depending on if it's products, it might be 1 or 2 more because you've got to click into a category maybe. But is it so clear and is it quite a short process to actually get a conversion through your website? Or are there many steps and you're going all over the place to actually get to where you need to go? So our last piece today, and I will try not to rush it, I know I'm running out of time a little, but adaptability. So being adaptable, as we all know probably over the last 2 and a bit years, being adaptable is a very key area in business as well as in digital marketing. So one thing we know is change is constant, and that's something we can count on. There's always new technologies, there's always new customer trends, there's always new digital marketing trends. And they're always being introduced. Some are staying, some are not. But something to learn from it is that there's always better ways of doing things in your business. Okay, and you don't have to do it all at once. It can be a journey over time, but it's just something to make sure that you're continually changing. One thing I think that's really important to understand, and something that stuck with me since I heard it about 7-8 years ago. Your website and your digital marketing is not a destination. It's not somewhere where you come in, you get your website built, you put in a digital marketing strategy, and then that's it. You're there, you're at the end destination. It's a journey. So it's something that you're continually on this path. Yes, the website gets ticked off, but you're still adding content, you're still creating blogs, or you're still looking at how you can make tweaks and changes to optimize it, because there's always going to be the need for that because the industry is always changing and trends are always coming out, or new ways people like to do things are coming out. A great example is one I just mentioned, Afterpay, Lay-by, these buy now, pay later systems. People love them. People are going crazy for them. And so having those options available on your website, if you are e-commerce, or even if you're a service business, I know my hairdresser offers it, those options can help customers overcome some barriers to then purchase off you. Okay, so but that's a newer trend that's come out, and people who have adapted to it, I'm sure, have seen the results from it as well. So your ability to be flexible and quickly adapt to changes is what will set you apart from your competitors. Sorry, I wrote the word there. Wrong word there. So change in digital marketing. A few things to watch out for when spotting changes in your digital marketing is new digital marketing trends and how to incorporate them into your strategy. Also about whether it suits your strategy or not as well. areas as well, new platforms for organic and paid promotions. So I think in the last year, TikTok's been a great disruptor to Facebook and Instagram. And so it's, when TikTok comes along, it's sit down, go, is TikTok, have they got the people I want to access? Are they the right audience? Are my customers on there? Is it something that I can incorporate into my business or not? That sort of thing is what you need to think about when new platforms or ways to do things within digital arise. Okay. And then the last one, new content types and strategies. So over the last few years, we've definitely moved from very text-based content into imagery content with Instagram, but now we're very much in a video stage. And going forward, the next thing that will start really pulling through, so New Zealand can be a little behind on this because I know Australia, it's quite big, is voice search. So using your virtual assistants on your phone and your car, etc., to do voice search. So that's probably the next thing in content that we're going to all be starting to look at as well. So looking at these and looking at how you can incorporate them into your digital strategy will help set you apart because you're adapting with the times. So change in technology is important as well. So there's new technologies available to always improve your business processes, your internal communication, and the quality of your products and services. If I loop back to internal communication and also external communication, I touched on messenger marketing. That's newer. It's been around for a couple of years now and it's growing. So looking at businesses like EasyBots that can offer those messenger marketing services to help improve both internal and external communication with your clients can be something that you maybe need to assess and see whether it's something that will help your business grow or even just learn more about it. So I think that's also important, is trying to be learning about new technologies as you move in the digital space. Then the next one, changing your customers. So this one's very important. Be adaptable for your customers to always change. So customer behavior and expectations are constantly changing. Your customers nowadays want quick and easy sourcing for information from brands, personalized brand experiences, and genuine brand interactions. I know I've done another webinar about brand awareness and ways to adapt it to these days, to how customers are changing. And a really good example I used in that, and I it's personable, so I can relate to it really easy. Now I'm someone who does try to, when I can, shop sustainably or shop recycled. And so, I've changed over the years myself, and I'm changing the way with how I spend my money. And so you need to be looking at trends like that because the environment's becoming a huge area for people to be concerned about or looking at ways they can change. So you need to be taking into consideration these aspects in your business and whether that's where your customers are trending towards as well. Not just saying there's that one, but I feel that's a good example. And looking at ways you can maybe show that you are trying to be sustainable or you are trying to move more into this recycled resource area. So one way I see a lot of people do this is by using post-delivery companies that provide sustainable packaging or using sustainable packaging, and then also carbon neutral post-delivery. So those are just some little things you could be looking at in this space if your customers are trending towards that. Okay. And then my last tip for today, and I do really think this is a very, very key one, is to listen to customer feedback and result-driven data. So it's all good listening to what maybe friends and family, what their opinions are, but what you should really be doing is getting it firsthand from your customers because they've actually experienced your service or your product, and then your result-driven data. So data does not, I know you can manipulate data a little, but data doesn't really lie at the end of the day. If you take the raw data, you see people landing on your homepage and leaving straight away. What that would tell me is that your unique value proposition or that line that's on that image on the homepage is probably not telling people what they need to know when they get there. And so they're not quite sure why they're there, what you offer, or why did this come up in my search, or it might not be clear where to click to next. So, data doesn't lie in the sense of, it can tell you some real honest truths of how people are interacting with your business online. And so to use that to your advantage to help improve your website and help improve your digital marketing strategy. So thank you, everyone. That's me for today. I'll hand it back to you, Inga.
Thank you so much for your sharing all these insights, Lisa. It was really interesting, and I'm sure a lot of all the attendees actually will have a lot of insights to take away from this and implement in their own digital marketing strategies. A quick reminder about the free online strategy sessions. If you haven't had an opportunity to sign up yet, we do encourage you to do so, as these are a great opportunity to work together with one of our digital business strategists to figure out how you can improve your digital strategy or your business or your website. Now it's time for questions. If you have any questions about anything we've discussed today, or any comments or talking points that you'd like us to discuss, please let us know in the chat mode. While you're typing those out, I do have one question that we do get asked a lot that I would like you to speak to. And that is, what should I do if I get negative reviews on Google My Business or anywhere else online?
Yeah. So I know I've touched on it, but it is that really you do need to respond. So no response is actually worse than responding. Even if your response isn't the greatest, no response is actually worse, because it's showing that you're ignoring someone. And being ignored is a very dangerous space in the digital world to be in. So make sure you respond. Like I said, the best way to respond is to acknowledge what they've said. So acknowledge, look, I get that maybe you haven't had the best experience or the product's not quite working how you wanted. Please email. So take it offline. Please email, please reach out, please get in touch so we can work on a solution, or we can find how we can make this better. So, respond, make sure you respond, acknowledge what they say. You don't have to always apologize though. You just acknowledge what they say and then take it offline. Now, the reason for taking it offline is that you don't want to start what they call trolling. So you don't want more people to start responding to that or make it blow into an argument online, because you can't control how people read text. I think that's quite hard. But taking it offline, you can deal and have a solution. You don't also need to show what the solution was either. But the fact that you responded and wanted to help does speak a lot of volumes.
Yeah. So when you say that people don't understand text, it's like you can't really convey a lot of information in copy.
Correct. And, I could read a sentence and go, that's funny. Someone else could read it and go, oh, that's really sarcastic. And so, you can't control that in text, because you can't add an emotion into it. And you can't then see, people can't see you smiling as you read it and go, oh, this is really positive. They might think you're being rather sarcastic. But it's just the way they are at the time. And that's what you can't control. So make it short and take it offline is always key there.
That's great. We've got another message from Hannah, who asks, what kind of images should I add to my Google My Business page?
Cool. So there's a few here. So one that I did touch on, if you are a store or a location that maybe is a little bit hard to find, try and add an image showing people, this is the driveway and this is the storefront on a busy street. I think that's really good. You're trying to make your business a lot easier to find, depending on your industry. So if you sell products, you sell food, you're a cafe, whatever, take photos of that, show people what they can expect when they get there. Maybe if you've got thousands of products, maybe just do your top sellers. If you offer services, for example, so let's say you're a hairdresser, you're a builder, show some images of your work that you've done. Show people's hair that you've done and how great it looks. Show maybe a renovation you've done in a home and how good it looks. But like I mentioned, don't just then bombard it. Use social media to have lots of images and really push that, but use your Google My Business to maybe give that taster, give that insight into what you do. Another nice thing, on that as well, if you're an offline business, an online only business, I keep saying the wrong one there. If you're an online only business, another thing that you could do in that image is actually post a photo of your team. And the reason for that is that human connection again. So having people go, oh, there's actually real people behind this business. And, they just look like, the people down the road. Rather than, I know what I get frustrated with is going to a website or going to a business which doesn't show me who they are, doesn't tell me where they are. And then I start going, are they a New Zealand business? Like I'd like to purchase from New Zealand businesses. So are they a Kiwi business? Are they, if I'm going to have a problem, can I get in touch with anyone? Are there humans behind this? So you want to be removing that, and just those snippets within Google My Business images can help as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, especially how having those staff photos or behind the scenes can like add a lot of authenticity and like break down a lot of those barriers. Because I'm the same. If I can't see contact information or any photos, I'm like, I don't trust this.
Definitely.
Sometimes even like high-end brands don't make the effort to have that copy anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got another question from Karen, who asks, what would be a good conversation rate from views to sales?
Cool. I think maybe that's meant to be conversion, maybe, Karen, hopefully. She's written conversation, yes. But I'm assuming it's conversion. So this is hard because it's different depending on your industry. It's different depending on what you're doing. But what we've always said, so for example, for someone on a website to be getting 2 to 3% conversion rates is amazing. So, and that's generally a lot of cases with across industries. So I think if you're quite a niche industry, if you're quite, there's not many people in New Zealand or not many people in the world who offer your product or service, then I would expect that your conversion rate's a bit higher. Like it could be around that 9 to 10%. But that's because you're niche and maybe there's not as many people that you're competing with. But if you do, if you're plumbers, if you're hairdressers, if you're, just your normal local businesses that you find all across New Zealand, your conversion rate's going to be quite, well, it's not low, it's high. When you compare it with everyone else, so that 2 to 3, and you may feel that's low, but it's not really. It's actually a really good conversion rate. So I think that's sort of what to consider there. I think the other thing as well is, views, if you're talking about like social media views, etc. Well, how big's your audience? So there are some other areas to think of there, because if you've got a very small audience, then you may have a lower conversion rate as well because you're not getting as many people seeing it.
Yeah. Totally agree with that, especially on social media. How they say, the amount of followers you have doesn't always translate into how much engagement you get online.
Definitely. And as much as I know Facebook, Instagram, etc. try to stop it, people create fake pages. I get messages all the time on Instagram going, hey, follow me and we'll give you free stuff. And I'm like, you're not even a real account. So, some, and they do say people can buy followers. You don't do it. So if you ever get the offer, don't do it. But people can buy followers, and basically they're just bots and fake accounts. So that's why some people may appear to have lots of followers, but actually they don't, and therefore it is sort of, they're not as popular as you might think as well. So make sure you are going with maybe brands that you know or companies you know and you trust when you are doing your competitor analysis. Brands that you actually know are in the area. Don't sort of use maybe businesses you've not really heard of that don't really seem to have much information on where they are as well.
Yeah. Karen, please let us know if that answered your question and if you'd like us to add anything else to that. While we're waiting for more questions to be typed, I do have another one that we get asked the most, and about conversion pathways. What should I do if I'm not converting as many sales as I would like? And does this mean that I have any leaks in the conversion pathway, and how to fix those?
Yeah. So most likely. Again, it's I'm assuming we were just talking about online. So it is, if you don't have it already, get data tools installed. So if you don't have Google Analytics, get that installed on your website. Okay. So because that's where you're going to start seeing some data, you're going to see where things are coming from. I know Zeld, our Zest platform, actually has reporting. So it does help you if you don't have Google Analytics. Not all website platforms offer that though. So you might luck out and get that. And then it's looking into that data. So going, where are people going? What are people doing? Why are people bouncing off? Is my bounce rate high? So that's how many people are coming onto your page and leaving within the first 2 to 3 seconds. So, if people are doing that, what's wrong? Which means either the page they're landing on isn't the right page. So it might, check that it's your home page, or when they're landing on the home page, there's no information there to either tell them what to do or to tell them what your business is, what you do, and that they're in the right place. So those are just some of the things there to look at. I think the other important thing with this, and so if you've got all this data analysis, etc. in there, it's, really knuckling down and going, what what are my weaker points? If the data is not telling you that, there's then other tools you can look at. So other tools you could look at is a heat map, for example. So a heat map shows you where people are going on your website when they're on it, and, you know, where maybe they're stopping scrolling a bit, or, you know, how they're interacting with it. The only issue with a heat map is if you're not getting the traffic through, the data is not that consistent. It's quite hard to really paint a picture from it, but that's just another tool you could look at. Or you could also look at what's called split testing, so or A to B testing is what some people might know it as. So having two home pages and having some traffic go to A and some traffic go to B, and see which ones are getting the better results. So data first, look at the data, look at where people are stopping, look at your website and if the conversion pathway is clear. But if you've sort of resolved all those sorts of things, the next step starts becoming to use other tools that do cost to then let's see if that makes a difference. So like those heat mapping and split testing tools.
Yep. So do you have any further examples of specific type of leaks that business owners should look out for?
Yep. So one big one I always come across is filling out a form and the form not submitting. And sometimes it's because it's saying I've not filled in a field, but I filled in everything. Or sometimes it is. Or sometimes it's telling me to fill in a captcha, but the captcha is not actually showing. So that, I think, it can be quite a big area that people sometimes don't consider. So I think it's very good that you really test your forms. Make sure that, one, you're not asking too many questions, because sometimes I look at forms and I go, oh, man, that's asking way too much, you know? And then other times it's that I filled out the form and then it keeps sending me back and not really telling me what I've missed or why it's wrong and why it won't submit. And that gets frustrating. So I think that's very important. The other one as well, which can often be, like I did kind of touch on it a little, it's just that contact information. Showing people clearly how they can get in contact with you can actually stop someone from purchasing from you. And that's just because they don't see that there could be other people on the other end if something goes wrong. And then my last one, sorry, I've got quite a few. And the other one is not so much the website processing getting someone through a conversion. This is now going to what happens after the purchase or after the service or after the inquiry. If the response is slow, you're putting someone off. So that could be where the leak is. So if someone gets in touch with you to get a quote, if you've not called them within 24 hours or not stated how soon you'll get in touch, you've probably lost them. They will be expecting you to either return it same day or within 24 hours. Okay. Or if you send a receipt and then you don't have maybe a shipping tracking number, you know, people like that. That could be another leak. And while it's not going to stop them from converting that time, it might stop them from doing it in the future. I love where I get my protein from because they do same day. If I know I've ordered before 8 a.m., it's out the door at their place at 10 a.m. and I'm likely to get it that afternoon. I absolutely love it. It just makes me want to always purchase.
That's great.
Yeah, because I know when it's a bit last minute, I know I can go to them and probably get it straight away. So, you know, thinking of things like that to get people also returning. So returning customers can also be another potential leak. So make sure you also review. Once you've got conversion process sorted to actually get people converting, then make sure you've got the funnel sorted to get them returning as well.
What you said about what was it? Someone emailing to get a quote and then not hearing back. That actually just reminded me as well about a situation where, like, I clicked on an Instagram ad to get like an email offer sign up freebie, and it's been a week and I still haven't gotten the email.
And that does happen a lot. I mean, sadly for me, it happened with the SPCA. I signed up to get some information pack through them on an ad. They said they had to ring you. And then I asked them, well, aren't I just getting an email? And they go, no, we send it out to you. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that, because I don't agree with the waste of paper in that case. I would rather just an email. And then they said, oh, well, we just okay, that's it. And that was the end of the conversation. But, you know, like that expectation was not set. I didn't know I was going to get phoned to then get my home address to get something delivered. I just thought I was going to get an email with a little PDF, you know, so the expectation wasn't set. And I actually wouldn't have asked for it knowing if it was going to be something mailed, because like I mentioned, I'm trying to be more sustainable and trying to have less things on paper, and posted to me is a good way to do that as well.
Yep. Cool. I'm just checking if we have any other questions or if I missed anything. I think that is all the questions we have for today, so I'll wrap up. And thank you for your answers. It's been great having a conversation with you about all this. And I'm sure the attendees will have a lot to take away from your answers as well. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Thanks again for having me.
Yep. Here we go. We have an exciting new webinar topic coming up on June 15th, and that is about QR codes and how to use them for your business. The exciting thing about QR codes is that they have so many uses, and all the contact tracing from, you know, the COVID or the pandemic has made them really popular. So we'll be sharing a couple different ways on how you can utilize QR codes throughout your business. Thank you again for joining us today and sharing all your insights with us and all your questions. We hope to see you again in our webinar on June 15th, so please don't forget to sign up for that, and we'll see you again soon.